Hello again. Liberals are always irritated and frustrated when ordinary people see through their tricks and refuse to be the victims of their deceptions. For many years now, left-wing and liberal political parties in Europe have claimed that immigration is both beneficial for individual countries and also a morally correct and desirable course of action, which we are somehow obliged to facilitate for the riffraff of Africa and Asia. This way of thinking has been all but universal in Western Europe, and we are now seeing the consequences of it. I have spoken often enough about the dreadful phenomena in this country which are associated with immigration, the political and religious terrorism and violent crime, for instance. Sweden is in a similar case, with shootings, explosions and rapes now being a familiar way of life in larger cities. Italy, being that much closer to Africa than either this country or Sweden, is being filled up with immigrants who have sailed across the Mediterranean in much the same way that our illegal immigrants crossed the Channel. Many Italian towns now have large numbers of penniless Africans hanging round. There too, a right-wing coalition is likely to come to power soon. Just as in Sweden, the Italians seem to have had enough. What is fascinating is watching the way in which the legitimate concerns of normal citizens are being treated. That is to say, those who vote for parties like the Sweden Democrats or the Brothers of Italy. They're both talked about as though they're the successors of Mussolini's fascists or the German National Socialists. They are, of course, really nothing of the kind. They're just people who have grown a little tired of being lied to and patronised. In the description to this video, I give a link to the BBC take on the victory of the right bloc in Sweden, a development which the BBC treats like the Anschluss in Austria in 1938. We are told that Sweden has received among the highest number of asylum seekers per capita in the world over the last few years. This and a perceived increase in violent crime may explain the surge in support for the Sweden Democrats, a party which has not only campaigned on both issues for years, but rose to prominence with its controversial claim that the two are inextricably linked. I love that expression, a perceived rise in violent crime. It is more than perceived. It is a fact that 40 years ago there were no bomb attacks and explosions or shooting on the streets of Sweden, and now there is. There can be no debate about this. There has been a rise in violent crime. The claim that asylum seekers and violent crime are inextricably linked is not in the least a controversial one. In the description to this video, I give a link to a piece from an academic journal last year, which mentions a survey carried out in Sweden which revealed that of 3,039 rapists in the country, aged between 15 and 60, 59.2%, almost two-thirds, had an immigrant background. In total, 47.7%, almost half, had not even been born in Sweden. Here at least, the link between asylum seekers and violent crime does not seem to be controversial. It is, of course, not only the BBC which plays this game about facts that we all know, and nor is it limited to Sweden. Academics, sociologists, left-wing comedians, journalists and others all work together to try and persuade us not to believe the evidence of our senses about what is happening in Sweden, in Italy, in Germany, and also in our own country. Sweden and Italy have now had enough of this game, and I'm beginning to be hopeful that the same thing might happen here before too long.